Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're joining us on this Imagine Lab workshop. Hope your day is going well so far. I'm out in Austin, Texas, where the weather is mixed between rain and sun. So lighting might change, but I'm still glad you're here. I am here primarily because I'm interested in virtual worlds. So I'm super excited to show you what we've found with Gather.town. If you've never heard of it, we'll definitely show you. We'll show you what we've learned about it, what its affordances are, and how we can build with it. I think it's a great tool for meeting other people, for an alternative to Zoom. I know all of us have moved online, and ever since then, we've been really curious about what other opportunities do we have rather than just a normal video call. So I look forward to showing that all to you within the next hour or so. I'll try to have some fun here. We'll ask some questions. Feel free to utilize the chat however you like. Point out anything that I might miss, any questions you might have, but I'm going to be sure to follow up and give you all the assets you need, everything you need to start building on your own. So let's get started here. All right. And something about Gather.town is it is completely 2D. And I think this is something you may not be used to. So if you haven't used Gather.town before, here at the Imagine Lab, we have a saying where we start with success and we work backwards. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with success and work backwards by showing you what Gather.town looks like. All right. So here we are in Gather.town. You can tell there's already some students, including a professor, teaching or holding a group study already. We might barge in, see what they're up to. But when we load up into Gather.town, all it is a link up at the top, and it's a persistent world. So you don't have to save your spot. You don't have to even memorize the tab. Just as long as you visited it, it's in your history and it's persistent. We don't have to be there to open it for you. It is always available. So I will go ahead and move around using my arrow keys, or WASD. And you'll see students and I have built out this world completely for the Imagine Lab, but also used for art galleries, for meetups, for networking events, and we'll give you a tour of all those destinations we've built out inside of it. We've also experimented with the platform, and we've built interactive games within inside the rooms itself. We've built embedded games inside Gather.town. Looks like we have someone visiting us right here. For example, this is John. And you'll notice about John, he's currently muted. His video is off. I could ring, but it's all spatial. As I walk away from John, they disappear. And I'll just show you what our networking spot looks like here. Looks like I have a ghost. A shadow, I should say. Yeah, so when we're in Gather.town, this is what it looks like. You get to customize it however you like. A lot of these assets are completely free online. You don't have to worry about going out and buying them yourself. Some of them are free. Some of them cost just a little bit or by contribution or donation. And this community is amazing. There's people out there building worlds all the time. So I'm sure you'll be able to get some help on the internet whenever you need it. And we can have fun with it. For example, this art gallery, you can design these however you like. It's a lot like Photoshop. It's a lot like any visual editor, any photo editor. You can walk around, you can put up installations and videos even. So I'll go ahead and head out, and I'd be happy to get started with what we figured out about Gather.town so far. Now, if you're joining us, you probably know me. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I am Josh. I've been working in the Imagine Lab since it opened, and I've had the pleasure of just experimenting with different forms of technology. And if you know me, I'm an all-around geek. I love immersive tech, specifically virtual reality. And I know this is very far from virtual reality, completely 2D, kind of looks like Pokemon even, but it is what it affords us to do that I find so unique. I'm always interested in connectiveness. I'm always interested in the social aspect of technology. So let me go ahead and start by introducing myself there. I am a senior RTF major from El Paso, Texas. And if you've been to El Paso, Texas, you would know, oh man, Chico's Tacos is the place to be. It's my mouse pad. Too bad. Either way, yeah, I grew up loving technology, all around Geek of the Year. I specifically started my RTF major because I like playing with new things. And as the saying goes, you go to film school so you can play with expensive stuff. But I'm also interested in storytelling. Give me a story and I'd be happy to read it all the way through. I'm really into lo-fi hip-hop, as you might hear in the background here. And I'm into Apple, but not the fruit company. I'm into a lot of personal consumer tech. And like I said, I'm the lab manager as well. So we'll talk about this later, but if you're ever interested in visiting the lab, feel free to shoot me a message, schedule an appointment. We do have some COVID protocols right now, but we'd be happy to have you in. Yeah, so again, just talking about Gather.town. It's a 2D virtual world for any occasion. And we're going to introduce you to a little bit about why we approached Gather.town and why I'm even doing a workshop on it. We're also wanting to talk about the why. It's very important to us. We're not just like a development crew. While we have a lot of creative people and technical people, we are still focused on its effects and the persistent knowledge of why we are even studying these things. So why do we care? Then we're going to get hands-on. And throughout this whole process, again, Q&A. You're welcome to ask me any questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So since the beginning of the pandemic, the Imagine Lab has been searching for the ideal remote classroom. This is completely true. When it started, I was probably hopping on a virtual world every other day. We had a list of over 100 virtual worlds, and I tried my best to go through them, but really we had to narrow it down because we were looking for an ideal remote classroom, not necessarily a conference hall, and not necessarily just a video game. So the goal was to find a virtual alternative that was accessible, easy to use, and most importantly, fun. I was so tired of Zoom. I wanted something different. So this is my outlet, and we've had some fun building these worlds out to appear like a college campus or completely abstract and building a park that doesn't even exist at UT. This is a quick video showing some other examples of what Gather.town can do. A couple things have changed. I know this is an older video. We'll talk about that. But you'll notice you have like a chat feature. You can see all the people in the room itself, in the world, I should say. You have a selection of worlds on the left. Still all a feature. And everything is spatial. But everything's adorable too. Like, check out this. I love it. And it really adds a touch of personality. So while I'm all pixelized here, I mean, this is normally the way Zoom would work if your connection is very poor, Google Meet. Sometimes you turn off your camera entirely. But with a 2D character, a virtual being, you can puppet in a way. You can dance, you can emote. It is way more fun. It just makes things a little more personable. It's definitely something I missed in pre-COVID era was those hall room, those chat, those hallway, those conversations you have by the whiteboard, so to speak. Now, if you heard that, this was just an example here of what it would look like if you were to walk close to a group. It is completely spatial again. You can mute yourself. You can also spotlight we're definitely going to be talking about spotlighting a lot. And of course, you can design these worlds however you like. And a lot of these assets, by the way, they're coming from like Pokemon games or Game Boy Advance games, I should say. It's fantastic. I love that. That was my era of video games. I know that pretty much dates me as pretty young, but I loved Game Boy games, and I guess that's kind of why I attached to this platform especially. Now, we did try other platforms. A lot of them were 3D, and they were very computer intensive. You either had to download an app or it didn't work on everybody's computer. Some platforms were all in virtual reality, which is really cool, but not everybody owns a VR headset. And some of them were AR, MR, you have one of those fancy visor headsets, which we also have in the lab. But that's exactly it. We only have them in the lab. Not everybody has them at home, and it just wasn't a feasible option. So Gather.town, this is the best part, free. Free to use, up to 25 guests. As we'll see in the FAQs up above, we're also going to run into performance issues if we go over 25 people. But you can pay your way. You can reserve a spot. You can pay for individual users. They do as well some partnerships with universities. But for now, we're just using the free version, and it's perfectly fine. It allows us to do everything you see in this video, collaborative whiteboards, embedded videos, embedded games. It's all really neat. Then again, remember, something is missing. We want to start with the why. And this might be important for why you are interested in this workshop. Are you looking for an escape, a return to a normal routine, something other than those Zoom calls that are taking up our schedule more than any other time in history? The movie night rooms, the game rooms. I know we all have a Discord chat going on right now, wondering how we can interact with each other. We see applications like Netflix Party really take off, and I love that stuff. But having that physical presence is still something I'm missing. So at the end of the day, we are creating an event space for any occasion. Again, the affordances, it's free. It's fairly cheap too. It's fairly affordable if we were to pay our way through or pay for individual users. The value is immense. You can still embed Zoom calls, by the way. We'll talk about that. So it can become the hub for all your meetings, even if your meeting doesn't necessarily take place audio-wise inside Gather.town. The experience itself of just walking around, that gives you that sense of exploration. Especially when you build out a world as large as the Imagine Lab, I'd love to see students and guests just navigate through, and I get to see them on a map as they travel. And it is fun to find those Easter eggs, too, that you hide inside your world. So we will also be talking about what is missing. And inherently, what comes next. I think it's important to recognize that we're not finished here, that we're going to have a lot of opportunities to grow, not just within this platform, but also in understanding why this platform captivated us, like what our intention initially was and how close we got to that and how we could improve on this. So again, we always want to identify technology being responsive, remarkable, and responsible. We'll just keep those themes in mind as we continue. Like I said, I'll be sure to give you the resources you need to build your own world. I'll show you how to use the map editor. We're going to use a third-party editor too that was recommended to me by the Gather.town representatives. And we'll show you how to get that fairly cheap or free. It is by contribution. Most of these things in this virtual world will be basically by contribution, by donation. And then finally, the Gather.town server, how you can manage it, and what tools do you have at your disposal as a moderator, as a group leader, to really make it as efficient as possible. So if you want to get started with that here, I have the resources already loaded up into a tab. And I'll leave this on the screen for just a couple minutes. I'm going to make myself quite small so you can scan that. Feel free to whip out your phone. I will also mention the link, and I'll plug it in our chat here. Again, I hope everyone is doing just fine. I'm glad you woke up this early to join me. I know it's It's fairly odd in the world of COVID, at least for me. I wake up pretty late, not gonna lie. So it takes you to a Google form, and I'd love to hear some feedback too. We'd like to know who you are and what other workshops you'd be curious about. That's very important to us. We do want to continue building these out and making sure that our explorers, but also future students, are prepared for the world of immersive and are excited about it. We're welcoming any type of curiosity. That's kind of our motto: stay curious. So I'll leave that up for just a bit. All right, I'll give it a few more moments here. All right. Now I'll add my screen showing what that document looks like. If you couldn't make it there, don't worry, definitely just message out to us and we'll provide you that link. That's perfectly fine. I should have also mentioned to scan that code, just pull out your camera on your mobile device, on your smartphone, and it should automatically recognize. Now, when you get to the website, to the Google form, again, we recommend you fill this out. I love that. But these are the primary links we're going to be using. The university assets that Gather.town has provided for us, completely free. You don't have to worry about ever losing these either, but we do recommend you probably download these to your desktop. We'll show you how to do that. You'll also have the tiled application. This is very, very important. The tiled application will allow us to actually build these worlds much, much faster than just the normal editor in Gather.town. And of course, you got Gather.town. We're still going to use the editor inside Gather.town. It's kind of a two-parter, just maybe not as efficient as tiled. So we'll start with actually tiled. When you click that link, you'll end up here. Let that load up for you. And you're welcome to download it. As you select this link, it'll ask you if you want to donate, all that good stuff. That is at your discretion. I always love to support developers building these platforms. Nice to be good. I'll come back up for my ghost form. And then here are the assets for Gather.town. You'll notice some of them are in two pieces. Don't want you to worry. All we need for now are PNGs. In fact, moving forward, that's all you're going to need. If you ever need an asset, let's say just a good old Google image search for a Christmas tree, just make sure whatever you're grabbing has a transparent background, it's a PNG, and you're A-OK. That is really what Gather.town uses when we're in tiled. If you don't use a PNG, trust me, it's not going to look that well because you're going to see that white background. Backgrounds will mix, and it just won't look that great. So I thought we'd kick off by selecting the Gather University packet right here. If you can't find it, it looks like this. I'll let you find that for just a second. We're hopping right into it. Also, be sure we're going to make a destination for all your files. For me, I'm going to be saving everything to my desktop because, frankly, it's pretty easy. Some files might land in my downloads folder, but as long as you know where everything's landing, you shouldn't hopefully get too confused. Destination will be very important, as tiled works similar to Adobe products. So if I was to delete one file somewhere, I'd have to relink it later, and that can be a hassle. It can be a pain. So I'll go ahead and download this file. Bam. It opens up as such. I'm a fan of renaming things so I don't get too confused. So I'll just call this University Assets. And again, I'm going to save this to my desktop. Right there. Okay. Also recommend, if you have an Apple computer, if you are running Mac OS version 13 and higher, I believe, you can tag. So sometimes it's nice just to create a new tag, keep everything organized, just in case you lose something. So I can go ahead, close this window out. I have my file downloaded. Again, all I needed was the PNG. We'll talk about this TSX in just a second. But now let's go over to our Gather.town editor. Oh, actually I should say tiled editor. Here we go. So this is what the tiled editor looks like. I do want to mention as well, if we run into any technical difficulties, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Definitely message me. You're also welcome to message us later if you're watching this recorded. That is perfectly fine. If you run into technical difficulties, I'm sure we can figure it out together. So I'm going to go ahead and hop back. And you are looking at tiled. So after you've downloaded the tiled application, you've saved it to your applications folder, and you've opened it, you'll probably not land here. I wanted to show you first, kind of just to push you in the deep end. When you have everything running and you have your world pulled up, it could look something like this as you finish. If you notice, we walked into this world in Gather.town just a few moments earlier, and it's exactly the same template. Nothing changed here. Really neat. You'll notice that things are in layers up in the top right. Let me pull out my little laser pointer. Yeah, so you have things in layers right up here, exactly similar to like any Adobe product. I can move the layer above. You'll notice that changes the scene. You have all your tile sets down here, and we'll talk about how to use your tile set. And you'll notice it's exactly the same PNG we had earlier. And you'll notice you'll also be able to switch between different tile sets, so you don't have to stay committed to a one only. Let's hop back over to our scene though, and we're probably wondering how we can get ours to look like this. So for now, I will actually just open a new one. Don't need to delete that. When you open a new map, you're going to have this prompt. And if you don't see this prompt, I'm realizing now, because my screen sharing doesn't show it. Either way, you're going to be asked if you wanted to display it orthogonally, CSV, and how the render order you want it to look like. Leave everything the same. Promise you, it'll look just fine. What's very important is your map size. So, for example, something on the left this is somewhat around 30 by 50, or 30 by 40. Don't really know off the top of my head. But really, for most classroom sizes, it's around 30 by 30 tiles. And how much a tile is, I'll probably have to get to you on that. I really don't know how we could measure it. But yeah, you really want to keep it around 30 to 30. If you make it too large, that's okay. Just keep in mind, you're going to have to traverse that space in Gather.town, and you're just one little character moving one space at a time, one tile at a time. So you don't really want to make things too big. We can teleport. I'll show you what that is. But we really just want to stick to something close to 30 by 30. So I'm going to hit create or save as. It's then prompted me a save file as. And you'll just want to title it however you like. Whatever you want to call your world. I'm just going to call ours good old Hello World. All right. And you want to change the destination you're saving it to. For me, again, I'm saving everything in my desktop, so I'll save it there because that's okay. Now, here we are. This is our blank canvas, our blank layers, and we don't need to pay attention down here just yet. Again, all of these, it's really busy down here. We'll just ignore that for now. On your end, it's probably going to be empty, and frankly, that's okay. If it's completely empty, that's how I expect it to look. I always like to start off by associating myself with the tools I have. Right now, I can see there's a little highlight when I move around in the canvas. This is my stamp tool. This is probably the tool you're going to be using the most. Up in the top right are also some icons you're going to be using the most. Frankly, you won't be using the whole toolbar. You can go crazy with it, sure, but for building whatever we're trying to build right now, just like a meeting space, you won't need to worry about that. All you'll need are these horizontal flips, rotations. There's some hotkeys too. Good to hover your mouse and get to know those hotkeys, such as Z, X, Y, all those are important. I always like to rename my layer too. So you can double click on a layer and then you can rename it. I normally start off with floor. If you want to add a layer, you right click and do that again. You can right click or control click. If you're on a Mac, make sure you go through your trackpad settings and you can add a new tile layer. I like to call this one walls. You'll notice we start building out a habit of keeping it in order as if we're building from literally the foundation all the way up. So decor usually comes last. Right? Then we're going to need our tile set. So let's say we didn't have all these different tile sets and you were completely blank. Right now, you probably don't have anything on your end. Well, we got to create one, and we have that saved image. So let's go to new tile set. I'll do that again. If we go to File, up at the top, File, New. We don't need to create a new map, just a new tile set. As you do so, you're prompted a little display window asking you to name it and to select your source. Again, unfortunately, you can't see my pop-up window here, but that's okay. I'll be sure to share with you any assistance you need, any screenshots you need. Really, as long as you just follow my voice here, we'll be able to figure this out without a problem. With your source, you do want to select Browse. There's a Browse button on your screen in the middle after you select it to create a new tile set. When you select Browse, it puts up your File Explorer or your Finder, and all you got to do is go over to where you saved your university assets. Remember, that's all you need. You're welcome to select it, your image, your PNG, and as you select it, it now saves it as a source, and it automatically renames it to whatever you named your actual file. So that's why I always like to keep it a little bit organized. All you have to do is save as, leave everything else default. It prompts you again, are you sure you want to save it? As you select to save, bam, we're in. So again, you have each of these tiles, but you don't worry if you're freaking out right now, like, where is my map? Where did it go? It's okay. It's just on a different tab. In fact, it's way up here. All right. You'll be just fine. So let's go back and explore tiled. When you go back to your hello world, all you got to do is just click on it up here. Be sure not to hit close tab. That would break your heart. I always like to hit save all right here. So it has now saved all my files, all that I'm working on. All right. I'm switching between the two just to show you. Not too hard. Now your tile set has probably already populated with our university assets. And that's good. But if you don't see your tile sets here, just make sure you can go up to View at the top, and in View, go to Views and Toolbars and Reset to Default Layout. Again, I realize you can't see my screen, but as long as you follow my voice, go to View, Views and Toolbars, reset to default layout, you'll be okay. And if you still don't see your assets pulled up here, you should see a little arrow right up in the top right of your tile sets. If you see that arrow pointing down in the top right of your tile sets, when you click on it, it's a drop down. Realize too, you can't see that. Now I'm knowing. I can't tile won't let you see certain options when you're screen sharing, but that's okay. You'll click on that drop down arrow and you'll select University Assets. Okay. So now, as you'll see, we can also resize this window. I'm cool with resizing. All right. Maybe just a little bit. Yeah, that's good. And I can tell we're really zoomed in here. All right. So I have my stamp tool. This is pretty much all you got to learn about Gather.town. With your stamp tool, you can select any of these tile sets. It's just a 1x1, or you can click and hold and select a whole selection of items, whatever you need, any asset. When you select something, check this out. You can stamp it in the real world. So if I put a floorboard there, floorboard here, I think you'll get the gist. You start filling in your map, and you'll notice the detail is still there. So this is great and all, but it reminds me of Microsoft Paint back in the day. It's just not that convenient to go around and just paint as much as you want. I don't think that's that great. By the way, you got your undo button in the top left, all that good stuff. It's not that great. So Paint Bucket tool, you'll click on the paint bucket up at the top in your toolbar. Let's make sure we're painting something that's real. Here we go. Nice. So you'll notice though, I've been doing this on walls. I don't want to do that. I wasn't intending to do that, so I'm going to delete that layer. I'm going to do it on the floor instead, the floor layer. And as I do so, woohoo, we got our floor. I don't really like it though, because it's just like a stamp, so it's repetitive of the same squares. It doesn't look that varied. So instead, I'll hit undo, and frankly, I'll just stick with something a little more simple here. There we go. Okay. By the way, we can pick any piece of floor. Doesn't have to be that one. You can pick a rug. It can even just be a simple color. And it can be an image. So we recently had a networking event. I imported it as a tile set because it was saved as a PNG the same way I just talked about earlier. And you can put it in without a problem. When you zoom in, you'll notice the clarity is pretty harsh. But let's go back. I digress. Okay. I do want to keep to something simple. I'm thinking just a good old normal floorboard. Oh, I only had it stamped. Here, we'll just hit undo. There we go. Okay. And then the fun part is, of course, with the actual decorating. You don't want to jump ahead too fast, though. Let's get those walls built. So let's go to tile layer, create a new tile layer, call it walls. I'll start breezing through this because this is where you're welcome to get as creative as possible. I like to select a good portion, as so. But you notice I'm still on Paint Tool. I don't want to be on Paint Tool. I just want to be on Stamp. And then I'll just click and hold to stamp my way through. Now, the corners are going to be kind of annoying, but that's okay. They gave us a corner asset. But if you're wondering, how do I get this corner? It doesn't look the same. Well, that's what these rotate tools are for. So up in the top right, if you were to click on the flip horizontally, there we go. Or flip diagonally, I should say. Yeah, so you'll just continue to build this out by flipping the orientation of your tiles. So now if you make a mistake, it's okay. You can just hit undo. Except if you make too many mistakes, it's unprofessional. All right, almost done here. Okay, so now that we got our walls, let's start getting some decor. Now, this is where you can really have fun with it. For now, I'm just going to put a table right in the middle. And maybe a podium or another little baby table. Put it contrasting color here. Right? Maybe you want a seat at this table. Maybe you want a plant right about here. Sure. Maybe we should talk about what we intend to build this space as. I've built a little bit of everything when it comes to the auditorium, to the meetup rooms, to the group presentation rooms. I mean, there is a lot you can do. I've even built like some party rooms. When I spoke to the Gather.town representative, some of them talk about how they've built dance rooms, and then they just embed a Zoom call and they all just start dancing. You can do whatever you want with these rooms. I really just kind of stick to the assets that I can find online. So I should have like our party supplies. Here, let me grab some balloons. No. Now you'll notice I can clip into other objects though. That's because I'm on the same layer. That's going to get annoying. So maybe I should create a new layer. Just call it balloons. So now I can put it here, but even better, I can drag it below. Easy peasy. And it doesn't really look that good though. Let me go back to my university assets. And you can always switch by clicking on the tabs at the top too. Let's put a poster on the wall, just for fun. And yeah, it's a pretty desolate room, but again, I'll let you have fun with it. I mean, there's so much you can do design-wise here. But again, everything is in layers, so I think the next part I'd like to show you is the foundations to how you build a door. And when you build a door in the tile editor, it doesn't make you teleport anyway. That'll come later. But for now, all you need is just create a new door layer and create a new darkness layer, or shadow, whatever you want to call it. Let's go to our door and let's stamp in the door. How about right up here at the top? Sure. Realize. Let's remove the door layer. Let's go to walls instead. We don't want to print on top of the walls. My bad. We'll just go to print it on top of right there. Okay. Now you can also rotate right. You can put as many as you want. In fact, you can make them as large as you want. Since the concept is all in these tiles, all I got to do is put that, select that, go all the way. Kind of feel like Bob Ross right now. Either way, it's however you want to design this. It's all up to you. I don't want you to worry too much. You don't have to get upset if it doesn't look that right. It's all up to you anyways. It's your creation. You'll be just fine. But this doesn't solve our darkness issue. Because when you walk through it, it kind of just looks like a hole in the wall. Literally nothing else. So we gotta add that darkness. Make sure your darkness layer is in the right order. And you'll see over here, they gave us light and dark. I like to use the shadows though. So with the shadow layer, let me first select it as so. And then I just stamp it in. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully this makes some sense. You'll get a hang of it. Right there, I did it. Oh, let's go back. Let me grab the other one. Okay. And then finally, I'm going to cover up that other door. I don't want to have to worry about too many doors. By going to the wall layer and clicking right there. Okay. Oh, also this door. Don't need to worry about it. It's too big. Okay. So now that I have this, I also want to put down a podium, speaker podium. This will be slightly important when we go to Gather.town, show you what it does. But I think that looks okay. For what we're doing right now, that's our hello world. I don't know, this is where you're spawning. You can create a booth, a table, and you can put whatever you like on the table. It's totally fine. Let's go to File, Save All. And then finally, we're going to get to the part we've been waiting for. We're going to export as image. So if you went to File, Save All, you're ready to go, you're set, go to File, Export as Image. Very important. So once you feel like you're ready, you hit Export as Image. It's going to ask you what you want to name your new PNG. It's probably just going to be named whatever our world is. So that's Hello World. So I'm cool with that. Let me hit Export. And here we go. So I'll hop back on over to my browser. And we'll go over to Gather.town. Now, I made a mistake. I went into Safari. Safari is in beta right now for Gather.town. It does work, but I prefer we use, I've found success with using Firefox. So if you want to use Firefox, just pull that up. Okay. And let me hop into that Firefox room just so I can show you. Bear with me here. Okay. So here I am in Firefox. Again, the world is persistent, so all I got to do is go to Gather.town. I realize this is if you already have a world. I mean, okay. But what if you want to create one brand new? Let's go to Gather.com and see. Realize it's not Gather.com, Gather.town. Gather.town. Might as well just show you. You have your FAQ, how much this cost, all that good stuff. The pricing tiers themselves, I'll just show you as of now. As you're looking at this, as you're watching this, this is what it appears. You can change the plan, so you can have it monthly, daily, all that good stuff. I know that's a very important question a lot of people ask me. And a lot of your questions can probably be answered just through this FAQ. So just something to keep in mind. Let's go back to the home page. Let's select Launch Gather. And this is what it currently looks like. It has your profile down in the bottom right. You can select it. You can change how you look. There's my email if you ever need to message me. It's totally fine. And then I have our spaces. You can see I have my Imagine Lab space up the top. I have my home space right below, and then a demo room that I use for a conference down at the bottom. That's been my testing space. You can enter by just clicking on the left, and hitting enter space. If you're a moderator or a builder, as they call it, you can edit the map and manage the space. But for now, let's just select create new space. Ooh, there's a lot of options here. And honestly, a lot of these are probably already going to become, they're already pre-built, I should say. So you can get a family gathering queue. I love how they mentioned queue. One for Lunar New Year, lounge. They have all these different types. They've really updated this. I have not seen the rooftop party though, so I would love to see what that looks like. I do have to give my space a name. I'll just call this workshop. And you can also just create one from scratch, but I prefer to show you what happens when we create one. Yeah. So your link appears at the top, and you can share that with whoever. Change your name, the camera, just like so, and your microphone. You can also mute yourself before you hop in. As you join the gathering, you got emotes. You can screen share down here. You got a mini map. Clicking on your name, all stuff. You can sign out. Of course, you can still change your character. The sidebar can be very important. You have your build options on the left, events, and chat. With the chat, you can select to chat to everyone in the world or just people nearby. Then you have your participants. This is also extremely important. From the participants, you can click on your name, you can spotlight. We'll talk about that. But yeah, here we are on this beautiful rooftop. I kind of like it. I wish I was that good at painting. And I could actually design this background. It's really cool. It's a lot of MS Paint skill. Okay. Well, let's go into settings. Let's go to customize space. I'll mention, by the way, yes, you have your settings for your user, all that good stuff. You can respawn if you ever get stuck. You should also be able to add a message. So, I don't know, welcome. When you hit save, you go to your chat, the announcement appears at the top. You can change the space access, shut it down. You can add user roles. This is important when you have a big group or you're doing this for a class. Definitely make sure you change your user roles. Okay. Now let's go back. Almost lost my train of thought there. Let's open the map maker. This is completely different. The best part though is if you make an edit on this side in the map maker, as long as you hit save, it saves it over here too. But let's create a new room. We'll just call this workshop. After you hit enter, a prompt appears asking if you want to start blank with a template and existing space. Let's actually just start blank because we already have our PNG. Let's upload a background. All right, took some time to load. You get to your Finder or File Explorer and just go find that PNG we just created in Tiled and select to open it. Here we go. So you'll notice it's not as full-fledged as the tile editor, and that's kind of why we prefer to work in tiled, and then when you're ready, import it here. But let's make sure we can build out the space that's navigable and how we're going to get here and how we're going to teleport out. It's all important. I always like to start first by selecting tiles right over here. And by selecting the name tiles, you have all these options. Let's select impassable tile and start clicking around the border of the space. Now, if you make a mistake, that's okay. You have an eraser right here. That's perfectly fine. I do kind of wish there was a line tool So I could just quickly draw a line, right? Now you don't want to block off the doors like I just did there. All right. Don't worry, you can actually put these impassable tiles wherever because it doesn't matter. If your character runs into them, they're not going to be able to go anywhere. I also want to do an impassable tile on the table and the podium. And for realism's sake, the pot and the little mini tables down here. Okay, almost done. There we go. Now, if I was to hit save world, run into an error. You have to set a spawn point, just in case, if someone was to teleport. So, honestly, that's okay to put it right here in the middle, but for clarity's sake, I always like to put it right by the entrances. I guess that just helps with my understanding of why I see a random green spot somewhere. And then you have private space tiles. I'm going to skip portal tile for just a second. Private space tiles, you first have to give it a title ID. So we'll just call this group 1, right? So I can put a private space tile all around my table. So that if anybody was to walk up to the table, they enter group 1's private space. And private space can only hear and speak to whoever is nearby. All right. With the spotlight tile, this is also going to be incredibly important. Spotlighting means everybody can hear you and everybody can see you. If you're not spotlighted, you have to get close to somebody in order to communicate. But if you want to be omnipotent here, all you got to do is put a little orange dot somewhere. You can actually spotlight anything, you know, but we'll just erase that. I like to put spotlights on stages or next to podiums. And just be aware, though, let's say someone's in a group meeting and you're spotlighted, everybody's going to hear you. So kind of keep it private, in a way, similar to the private spaces. By the way, you can have more than one private space, I should mention before I go any further. So if I create group 2 can be right around the trees, or the tables, I should say. Just like that. Okay. And then finally, portal tile. This will probably be the one you might have the most difficulty with, not gonna lie. And it's just because it's just a little bit tedious. If we have our portal tile, let's click on a doorway, just like so. And then you don't want to portal to another space. All you gotta do is portal to another room. Select the rooftop, and you can put it so that we come out right here. So let's do the same thing, portal to a room, rooftop, right there. Now I know it probably doesn't seem realistic that I'm just putting these all coming out of the same spot, but actually you can put this coming out anywhere. If I want to just like pop out of this corner, that's cool. If I just want to pop out of over here on this left side, that's fine. Go crazy with this. I think a lot of people have suggested to me you can make a maze. You can build a little interactive game as we have. Recommend you check that out. Now you notice I made a mistake there. I did portal to another space and I selected workshop, so that would just take me back to the workshop. Now I'm just going to do it one more time. I just realized I did that again. Here we go. Rooftop. There we go. Now I can hit save. However, we didn't solve a problem. We only created a one-way portal. Now we got to create another portal coming here. I'll keep this easy. I think by now you may be able to comprehend. We're just going to be selecting one portal spot. I can put this anywhere, but I like to make it feel a little more real at least. Workshop. Just like that. Okay. Now you have your objects. So let's go back to the workshop. We have objects in here as well. You don't have to use tiled. You can do this all within Gather.town, which is perfectly fine. But I like to use tiled just because it's a little more efficient. You have those layers that we mentioned. You can also add custom objects though in Gather.town, which is what we're going to be using right now. So before we hop into our virtual world, let's just put an armchair maybe right here. Okay. Let's put another plant maybe right there. And you'll notice we've got a lot of other things here. I love the inventory they have. I mean, some people like to just build out their foundation in tiled, and then when you come to Gather.town, decorate it however you like, because there's a lot of cute stuff. Also, what's important is going to be the productivity items. We have a video projector, a shared document, a shared whiteboard. I'll go ahead and put this down. With the shared whiteboard and with many of these advanced objects, you can change the name that appears when you walk up to it. So if you checked out all these settings that have appeared, you can change things like the activation distance, the actual image that shows up here at the top. You don't have to make it look like a whiteboard, but it can still function as a whiteboard. It could be a chair. You can walk up to a chair and it turns into a whiteboard. You can do whatever you want. Well, let's select place object, and I'm just going to put this on our table. Cool. Now we can delve into the other productivity items. You got the bulletin sign, and it can show a website when you walk up to it. You have your bulletin video. You can embed a video URL, super useful. You can even synchronize the start time. So, movie rooms, right? You can add a Zoom call or other links. A lot of people could prefer that solely because they're very familiar with Zoom, but it also allows you just to add even more groups to Gather.town. Like, let's say you didn't build your room with the functionality for a lot of private spaces. That's okay. Just you can integrate more Zoom calls when you're here. You can put a note, and yeah, we've pretty much covered all the rest. They have some games you can add too. They keep adding more and more. They're kind of fun. They're just embedded games from websites. You can also just do the same thing by putting a note, or not a note, but a shared document, and making the shared document like a game site. We've done that as well. And then finally, the conference. I love the conference items because you can place them anywhere you like. Now you'll notice we're missing some features that we had in tiled. I can't rotate or flip this, so they kind of just paste however you had them. And you can add text. This is looking like a monstrosity of a world. There's like no organization at all. I'm just kind of having fun with it. Here's the thing though. When you create a new object completely from scratch, that means I just put down text that wasn't there before. Everything else that I've placed down was there. I mean, it was already in its library. The sofa I put down was already in there. But when you create something from scratch in Gather.town's editor, you have the option of adding more things to it. So if I went out and downloaded a boat, a PNG of a boat, and I wanted to put a boat in here, I can make it so when you walk up to the boat, it plays a video. I can add a website to it. Call, put words on top, a poster, an image that pops up when you get close. But for now, I'll just do no interaction. Hello world, hello world, hello world. Neat, eh? There's a whole lot you can do. You can make small boosts, whatever you need. You can make it so that we have different bulletin videos at each booth. Imagine all the career fairs we could have been having in here. I know it won't replace the real world, but it completely. But it's really nice. Let me hit save here. So I do want to thank you for sticking with me. I know we just finished up probably the hardest part, and that was building out our world in Tiled. We brought it over to Gather.town as a PNG, as an image. We uploaded it as we created a new world, and now we're ready to go. We just hit save, just did it twice just to make sure. And now we can click on the 3 dots up at the top left and hit go to space. But we really don't need to do that because remember, it's right here. I already hit save, so now if I was to walk down, too much. Ta-da. Takes a second to load, but here we go. Here we are. Exactly how we built it. When I walk up to the whiteboard, the text at the bottom indicates I've entered a private space because I did create a private space there. And it says press X to get jiggy with it, just like I did earlier. There's a whole lot of things you can do in here, and your what's it called, the whiteboard. You can even add your name, like your assignment, and then save it as an SVG file. Quite adorable. You can even add pages and then switch between your pages of notes. It's great. Your podium, watch this. As I walk into it, you've stepped on a spotlight square. Very important because you'll know that you're being broadcast to the whole world. Here's the video tile. I'm going to mute it. I'll hit play, and the video will play just as I expect it to. While it's playing, you can still chat. You will have these options for your calendar. You can customize your calendar as well. You can still build in the world without being in the map editor. For example, if I'm in build mode and I want to put down another chair, let's put a chair right here. It says press space to use tool. When I press the space bar, there we go. Just put another chair on the fly. I didn't have to go create another world completely or go back to my tile project. I can also erase. So if I want to take away that chair, same process. Just make sure we exit the build mode by clicking on it once. And let's say you want to get spotlighted. As long as you're a moderator, you can spotlight yourself and you can spotlight others. They don't have to be on the spotlight square. So I really hope this helps y'all out with Gather.town. Here's again, teleportation. Ta-da! Doesn't work both ways though, because that's not how I built it. That's not how we made it. You have a mini map that shows your location. Again, you have the option to screen share. Oh, that is not a good idea. We have the option of screen sharing. You can do emotes, just like so. And let me stop screen sharing now. Okay. So I, again, hope this really helps you out. Let me hit go home. And let's go to the Imagine Lab. Let's enter that space. I'd love to just give you all a tour. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to show you. And again, thank you. Thank you for coming. I'll be giving a tour, like I said, after this. We have some other events throughout the week coming up. We have the Fashion Meets Immersive meetup. We'll be talking exactly about those topics, how they intersect, and what's coming next. We're really excited about that. We also have our XR Alliance, our XR community. So if you're into extended reality, we'll highly recommend you come and join us here. We have some faculty and students who are going to be embarking on a new research project involving the D-Box chair. And if you've never seen the D-Box chair, it's one of those like movement chairs. It's hard for me to actually explain it at the gate. It's a pneumatic chair that has all these points of vibration on the chair itself on the back. So you really feel the motion, and you'll switch perspectives a lot with whatever you see on screen. So if you see like a helicopter, you'll be like moving with the helicopter, stuff like that. It works with a lot of films too. And right now we're cutting together like a compilation of our favorites. Now, speaking of the lab, you're welcome to come visit. We are taking COVID precautions. We are making sure to wear a mask. We even have special face masks for our VR headsets. We will be disinfecting everything. We'll be also spacing out these appointments. So if you do want to book an appointment, be sure to message us, check out our website, and yeah, just take a perusal through our calendar to see when a time is best for you. So like I said, just join us on that site. If you can go ahead and fill out that survey, I'd love it. And I'll be hopping right back in to Gather.town just for fun. But let's crash this group that's going on right now. So you can see what it's like. Oh, where they are. Around the keynote hall? No? They're not in the demo room? Not in the group presentations room? Something tells me they're in here. There they are.
Is it just an introduction to get to know each other?
Well, yeah, so you can see there's so many uses of Gather.town. I think I just ran through every room. I wanted to show you the demo room. We did do an event with Capitol Records, and we did build an activity within the world itself. So it's like a teleportation game where you have to guess the song. So I encourage you to come in, try it out, and if you're able to guess the song, like for example right here is a piece of the song, if you're able to play it. So that's just one piece of the song, and if you can guess it, all you gotta do is spell it out. And if you get it wrong, just tells you to try again. It was a fun experiment. Let's exit the activity. Show you our festive world we made with our game room. Yeah, so it looked like Aaron's class was collaborating on something. Interested to see what that is. Oh yeah, look, we can create custom booths too. You can easily just do this in Photoshop with the same assets that were on that drive link for you to check that out. Let's go down. And let's go to the left. Okay, cool. So we built like a raffle system. We could embed games like code names. And I'll mention we have an Easter egg here. So if you've made it this far into the video, you can definitely check out these Easter eggs so we can play some more games with other people. For example, when you walk up to this table, here we go. You would just create room. All right. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend there. Thanks for joining me. My name is Josh Ramirez. I'm on most socials as Josh the Mosh. So Look forward to seeing y'all at the lab. Wherever you are, definitely just reach out. Thanks for joining us.